Okay, welcome. This is the last installment of the Other Love course. And I welcome you. Thank you for coming here. And it is wonderful that you made it until this point. This last session is a brief summary of what we've done up to date. And I just wanted to congratulate you that you made it here because sometimes it's not very easy to go through a course like this because it kind of reminds you of all the things that don't work right now. But only because it doesn't work right now doesn't mean that it won't work in the future. So now we're taking a look at what we've done, where we've been, where we're going, and what is out there. So the first thing that we looked at initially was the introduction. And the first lesson that we took was don't feed the beast. The more you look into the problem, the more you are fixated on the problem, why you're not getting love, be it because somebody around you died or left, or the environment around you changed, or there's suddenly some politics, or there's an issue at work, for example. Don't focus on it too much. If there is really nothing that you can do right now, immediately, in order to fix the situation, if you feed the beast and give it energy, the more energy you give it, the worse it will get. The second we looked at is spiral dynamics, the social theory. And if you have not seen this, I would encourage you to take a look at the introductory video. It will be available at the same location that you found this video, basically on the same list on YouTube. And it kind of explains why people are the way they are and how different people react differently to the way you are in certain situations. So sometimes the way you are may be completely great in one environment. It is completely inappropriate or seen as inappropriate in a different environment, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong with you. That is one thing that we said in the introduction. Usually, if you go to a personal development course, it will always focus on what's wrong with you and what you can improve within you in order to make your situation better, which is how personal development teachers will sell their courses, because if there's nothing to develop in you personally, they can't sell you anything, right? But we all know that sometimes it isn't you. So I'm not looking at whether it is you or not. I mean, people like Jesus Christ, for example, or Mahatma Gandhi, or Martin Luther King were great people, but they were still killed. So it's not always you, but sometimes you can do something, even if it is not your fault, you can do something in order to improve the situation anyway. But sometimes that's not the case. So we're taking an introduction. It was stressed that it is a no-fault course. It doesn't matter why you're in the situation that you're in. It only matters that you're there and that we want to help you. So we're looking at the effects of bullying and antidotes as well, just in case you are not the one who is bullied, or bullying isn't the issue for you, but it may be for somebody else, your child, for example. This is not, of course, just about bullying. It is also if people lose love, for example, because somebody died or something of that nature. But sometimes the issue is bullying, and we're taking a look at that as well. And the lesson number 2, don't wait for the damage to materialize before you move, because sometimes that is just what you're going to have to do. As you can see, I just magically got this thing in my ear now, which, is the wonderful thing with technical things today. I just thought there's a little bit of noise outside that maybe you may be able to hear better with this. So this was the introduction, of course. That was session number 1. Session number 2 was the short-term solution. So one of the first things to take a look at is don't get lost in the bad, because it is so easy to focus on all the pain that you have. But sometimes what you have to do is look up, not down. That doesn't mean that down there isn't a lot of crap. There may be, you may be walking over hot coals, so to speak, but if you look up and you concentrate on something else, then there's something to go towards. And while you're fixing the long term and maybe analyzing this with the help of these sessions that we're doing, the next session and the session thereafter, you do need to make sure that you get love and connection in the meantime, because a lot of times people will always find a way to get love and connection. That is one of the things Tony Robbins teaches, for example. But sometimes if we don't focus on it and we don't do it consciously, we will use things that are not very good for us. For example, drinking too much alcohol or eating too much or going on a shopping spree can be a way to love ourselves, or at least connect with ourselves. Being addicted to problems can be a way to love ourselves and connect to ourselves and connect to others. Because if we have problems and the problems are really bad and are unsurmountable, then of course other people will feel sorry for us and we get a certain amount of connection there. And it kind of feels like love, although it really isn't. But people can get stuck in that, and then they get addicted to this problem, which means they don't get out of the problem. So we need to find something to get love and connection in the meantime while we're fixing the problem. And in that session, in that second session, there is a myriad of different things that are explored that you can do, and it's just a few examples. And then we've got a reference to the love challenge, which you can find on www.nivelle.co.uk/the love challenge, and that link is in the second sessions as well, just to show you there's so many different things that you can do to find that love in the short term while you're looking for a long-term solution for whatever issue there is. Then the next session, session number 3, was the analysis. Look at the environment, take a look at why things are working out that way. Is it a short-term thing? Did it start with just one issue, or has it been there all the time? Or even if it started with one issue, did it just show up that there has been an issue all this time? So look at the environment. What are, spiral dynamics comes into that again, because that will sometimes show you what you can expect in future. Also look at yourself, is there something that you can do, even if it's not your fault? Sometimes you can do certain things to influence others to be better human beings towards you as well as towards others. So there's things you may be able to do there. Take a look at what is the primary problem, and what options do you have? So that was the analysis in the third session that we did. The next one was what's next, the long-term solution. Now that you know what the issue is, that you have also found some ways to fill yourself up with love and connection again so that you can feel better and you're in a better state, you can now take a look at the long-term solution, what you want to take a look. So look at the analysis. What is the cause of the current problem? If it is something within you, it may be pretty easy to fix. You may just have to work on yourself a little bit. If you decide it is your fault, if it is not your fault, still there may be something that you can pretty easily do, which will change the situation, make people respond to you in a different way. For example, if there was a misunderstanding or there's a cultural thing, right? If it is the environment, you may need to move to be happy. And then you have to plan for that. If you need to move, decide on the timeline. That's also what we decided. Is there something you need to complete or learn or contribute before you leave? If so, is it under your control, or do you need to set yourself a deadline? Sometimes you want to complete something, but you are dependent on somebody else to do their thing for it, and if they don't, you're just kind of stuck. So sometimes you have to say, okay, I'm going to try to complete this, but if I don't, I will move anyway. And then the third thing was leave your house in order and as far as you can. Sometimes people don't give you the chance, but as long as you can, do, if it's a work thing, do a proper handover, make sure that the next person is okay, even if they're not very nice to you. Still, you're not working for one person or one department. You're working for the company, and the company has a bigger place in society. And sometimes you may hurt people that you don't even know, who had nothing to do with the situation that you're in, if you don't give a proper handover and if you just leave in anger, basically. Now, we also did a short-term intro into the course, the Design Your Future system, which basically showed you a way of moving on. So that course is especially designed to find a new job, for example. If you have just lost yours, you're going to lose one in future. But it can also be used, the principles in it can also be used for all kinds of different changes. It can be used for moving, for all kinds of projects, for launching a new product, for example. So it may be something interesting for you to look into, and we have already given you a link to a free webinar which explores it a lot more than I explored it at the time, but just to show you that this is out there, something that could help you. And once you take a look at the webinar, you could purchase the course. It comes nowadays with a mastermind as well, which, depending on how many people are in it at the time, may turn out to be group coaching or even individual coaching. Or it may be a bigger mastermind, depending on how many people are in it at the time. But it is certainly a mastermind, certainly something where you can get some feedback. Right? And then Some quick takeaways for the way forward. Now, in the future system, I just showed you the last time we looked at a different part. We looked at the engage part, so you don't see the entire ring here, but you see at the bottom to the left, you see the engage part, and we explored that in the last session. Now just wanted to show you the first E with which you start is basically explore, and it says arrive at yourself tool. And just to show you that there's also something behind this, the first A for arrive stands for accept. And that doesn't mean that you accept the situation necessarily. So again, the course is designed for, if you lost your job, for example, but it can also, be used in other areas where you lost love, because if you lose a job, you can also lose love in a way, and love and connection. For example, you spend a lot of time in your job, with your colleagues, and if you suddenly lose your job, then suddenly you may lose your social life as well, and that could lead to quite a bit of grief. And once you're grieving, you will probably focus on blaming other people, why this happened, why you were sacked and not somebody else, or why all the colleagues were so mean to you, or why your manager didn't really do the right thing, why the company did this and that and the other. The problem with that, even when it's right, even when it was totally unjust, if you stay in that, if you focus on that, that is all you're going to see, which means you won't have a way forward. It is that old analogy with the tree. I used to go parachuting. I used to go skydiving, and our parachuting instructor told us, if you want to land somewhere, and that you've got this big field and there's just one tree in it, don't look at the tree, because if you look at the tree, you will focus on the tree and you will unconsciously steer towards the tree. So you will end up in that tree, even if it's just one tree in the big field, right? So if you see a tree in the field, look everywhere, but not at the tree. And the same thing goes if the whole field is full of trees, but there's just a little path where you could land. Then focus on that path where you want to land, not on all the trees that are around there. And that goes the same if you're looking for a new job, for example, because you lost the old one. Don't look at all the things that went wrong there. Analyze them quickly so you don't make the same mistakes again. But then look where you want to land. Don't look at all the things that could go wrong, that you could go broke, that all these things, but look where you want to land and move towards there. And for that, in order to be able to do that, you have to accept first the situation you're in. That doesn't mean accepting that it was right. It doesn't mean accepting that it was okay. It doesn't mean accepting that you won't do anything about it later. You can still decide if you think you want to sue people, you can still decide about doing that later. But for now, focus on where you want to end up and focus on where you want to go and make sure that you get there. And at the time when you get there, you may decide that while it was all really mean and so on and so forth, you actually ended up in a better place than you would have been otherwise. And then you may not even if it was really, really unfair, you may not even have the inclination to sue anybody, because it would just take away so much of your time and of your life, and it's just not worth it, because through some, even if it was unfair, you ended up in a better situation because of them. And that has happened to me several times. And that can also happen when you get bullied somewhere and you have to move, or if, it is a little bit harder if somebody you loved died. But sometimes you can also end up in a situation, there's spirituality comes in there. We had that as well in one of the sessions, that you can find a level of spirituality and of inner connection as well that you may have never known even existed. So there are a lot of times people don't see, when they're in a lot of pain, that there could be something good about this, that life is happening for you, not to you, as Tony Robbins says. But the only way that you can find what is good about the situation is to just accept for the moment where you are, that this is where you are and that you can't change it right now, and to move forward, right? So this is the first A for accept. It's a little bit longer in the actual online version. There's another aspect to it that you may also want to look at. If you decide you want to forgive those people, forgiveness is usually something that is done for yourself, not for other people. because if you don't forgive, then you feel that grudge the whole time, and it is you that is suffering, not necessarily the other people, even if you know, and you don't necessarily want to do bad things to other people, obviously. Now, there's a difference between inner forgiveness and outer forgiveness. Inner forgiveness means that you let go, you do forgive other people, and you don't hold on to it so it doesn't sink you yourself and rob your energy. But sometimes it also means, people think it means that if you forgive people, they just get away with it. That's not, inner forgiveness isn't the same as outer forgiveness. You know, you can still within yourself forgive people, but without them, sue them so it doesn't happen to somebody else. Or put a restraining order in place, or whatever the issue may be at the time, or make something public in order to not take revenge but protect other people, depending on what the situation is. I don't want to put something in your head, but if you forgive within yourself, it doesn't mean you can't do anything on the outside. So don't stop. I'm not telling you do something on the outside. I'm just telling you don't stop from forgiving on the inside just because you think that something on the outside needs to be done. If you're spiritually inclined, look at something like cutting cords. There is somebody called Master Ko that I can recommend, who teaches this thing with the inner and outer forgiveness, but also teaches how to use energy in order to get rid of certain feelings and certain things that may hold you back. So I found that very helpful at times. Now, to move forward, and that is really where I want you to get in this session, is the vision. You need a vision to move forward. It's not just to analyze where you are right now, what you don't want, what's not working, or if it's you or the environment, and that you have to move on and just get out. You need a vision, and that is what we got into in the last session already. You need a plan of moving forward, but for that you also need a vision, something that juices you emotionally, something that you get excited about. It's not just planning in your head and then get to somewhere that you get enough money or something. You need to dream a little bit. That doesn't mean get lost in dream space. That is also danger there. If you're really, really unhappy, that you get lost in a dream world. But sometimes that may actually be helpful for a while in order to heal. But at some point you actually have to make money again, right? So don't get lost in the dream world for too long before all your funds are gone. But you do need a vision. You do need a vision of, without a vision, the people perish, obviously. And you need to get that vision once you've got rid a little bit of your emotional baggage, even if it is just for an hour or two or a day, and you have to work on, releasing anger and all that for a while. When you look at your vision, don't do it in a place of anger. Do it in a place where you feel good. And we have a little bit of a helpful tool, which is very short, but it is part of the course that we did publish a while ago that I just talked about, that can help you to take a look at what you really want to do. Maybe what happened now, wherever, if you have to move, for example, maybe can you use that to make a dream come true that you always wanted to make true, but that you couldn't make true earlier because you didn't have the resources. Maybe you do have them now. Maybe maybe you have also learned something from the situation, even if it wasn't particularly pleasant, right? So there's some things that you can do there. And what I found very helpful in that respect, and I'll show you that little meditation, in a minute. But what I found very helpful in that respect, just to put this into your head as well, is the image of a bridge. That from here, you need to go from here to there, and you have a bridge in between. But in order to get from one side to the other, you have to let go. You have to let go from one to the other. And sometimes that is very hard, simply because you have the feeling that if you let go, you may lose the good things that were there. Say if you lost a loved one, for example, if a relationship ended, for example, then if it really hurts, that means that there was something incredibly beautiful there before. or you hoped for something really beautiful, or maybe, even if there's a witch hunt, you really like the people, you wanted to be friends with them, you wanted to do good things for them, you wanted to, you could see all the potential in the neighborhood, for example, you wanted to help them you walk their dogs or whatever. You could see the potential in the job, and how, if you all work together, it could be really cool. And then it was all destroyed. So there's a lot of grief there. But there was also either a potential or something really beautiful there. And especially if there was something really beautiful, especially in a relationship, and it is something that you have very seldom or never seen before, it is very hard to let go of that. And you have the feeling you have to let go. If you let go of the grief and all the pain that is connected with that, you also have to let go of that good experiences. That's the last thing you want to do. You want to, even if you have a lot of pain now, you want to at least take the good stuff with you. And what I found helpful in that respect, because a lot of times these things are intertwined, you're only hurting so much because it was so beautiful. If it hadn't been beautiful, you wouldn't be hurting, right? So if you let go of the hurt, you also let go of the beauty in a way. But at least that's the feeling. The way that I help me deal with it is, there's two things. There's one is a way that soldiers, for example, deal with post-traumatic stress disorder. A lot of times soldiers, when they lost friends in battle, they have a massive problem letting go of that picture of their friend being blown to bits or losing their leg or bleeding out or whatever, because they have the feeling that they're betraying their friend if they let go of the memory. It's the last memory that they have of them, and they don't want to lose that memory. So the way that they're helped a lot of times is to help them not focus on that last memory, but to remember their friend, the laugh, the way he looked the last time he was happy, the last time they did something together that was great. Then they can let go of the pain, but not let go of the friend. So that is something that I found incredibly helpful when I was in pain with a relationship, for example, that ended, that I simply focused on the beautiful place, the beautiful things that happened, maybe all of them, or maybe just the ones just before all the crap started. When everything was still beautiful, when there was nothing from the outside or the inside that could shake that up. And sometimes you can even connect to that energy of that person, or the energy of that event, or the energy of that group, when you felt really connected and really in tune with them, or simply energy of the place. Sometimes you love the place. It's just such a beautiful place and such a beautiful nature. What I also found helpful, as I said, the bridge, is to trust that if I let go of that experience now, even if I have the feeling that I may be losing the good stuff, that I trust that it will be there on the other side. It may be there in a different form, or it may be there in the same form, just at a different point of time when all the circumstances are different. But I trust it will still be there. That it's not just in the past, that the good will pull through, will be there when I'm on the other side. And that is an incredibly, it's the only way that I can go on the other side and let go of some things in the past that are really beautiful, in order to be able to move on. So it doesn't matter, and a lot of times, if you move on, you become, in a way, especially if you move and you're around different people, you become a different personality, right? That doesn't mean that you can't reconnect that new personality, which will initially probably not feel all that connected to that past life, which is the whole point. You want to, you know the new personality will be created anyway, and that is not something that you're, schizophrenic or something. It just means, you will have different personality. It's called interpersonal relationships, I think, or some interpersonal therapy or something in psychology, that every person has different personalities within them, without being sick or anything. You have a different personality that will connect to your lover than you will have to your children, for example, and you will talk in a different way to your parents. So it's different parts of your personality, and kind of different personalities will be used for different life situations. And the same thing will happen, just to a larger degree, if you move somewhere else or start speaking a different language, for example. And then connecting back to something else will initially be weird. For example, I can remember I was speaking German. I'm born in Germany. I lived in Germany until I was 27, basically, except for 9 months when I was 17, and I think 9 months when I was 3. And then I suddenly moved to Miami. And I spoke English. And that completely changed my personality in some ways, because in English I didn't have the same vocabulary. Also, the culture is expressed through the language, which means you think in a different way if you force yourself to think in English instead of just translating every time, which is what I did at the time. So I suddenly had a different personality. It was really weird. And then I realized I couldn't do calculus or math. I was really good at math in German. I couldn't do math for the life of me in English when thinking in English. So there are certain connections that the brain initially doesn't make, but that doesn't mean that it can't make them later. So if you have something really beautiful that you want to connect to back to, it, you may feel initially when you let it go and you go over the bridge and you come to the other side that it's gone, because you can't remember it anymore. You have to go back into that different personality again to feel it again. But it doesn't mean that you can't reconnect, and then you can decide what you want to reconnect to, and that is the beautiful thing. You can decide to reconnect only to the really beautiful things that you remember instead of all the pain and all the suffering and all the things that were bad. So sometimes moving, while it is a lot of work, while it is very insecure a lot of times, while you don't know where you're going to end up, especially if you go with your family and pets, for example, it can be quite insecure. But apart from the fact that you may find some really beautiful things on the other side, which I did, just a year ago, for example, I moved from England to Spain. And it was the most beautiful place that I found there, with beautiful people, beautiful, um, you know, um, it was a beautiful community there. Um, it can also help you discover different parts of your own personality. I have no idea where I started this sentence, but anyway, so going to a different country can help you deal with some of the stuff that you couldn't deal with in the old one, because you automatically become that different personality, which may deal with things in different ways, especially if you spoke that language before and you go back to a certain personality that you were there. That personality then may have been very driven, very results orientated, which the personality in a different country may not have been, because it was more emotional. So that may be actually be helpful, and then you can integrate it again. It's a little bit complicated. It sounds very psychotic and very psychological, but it's actually a very natural thing that people just don't think about. So sometimes the move may actually, while being a lot of work, may actually help in a lot of ways. It's not just going away from something, but going towards something and growing. It is a way to grow for you. So always look at what is the possibility in this? You know, go into the right state, as said before, make your vision, and then see what is the possibility of this. What new things can I learn? What new ideas are there to explore? And one of the things that Master Ko, for example, stresses a lot of times is that we are souls, we're eternal beings that have a physical experience. And if you are a soul that has a physical experience, then some things that other people think are, incredibly bad and, horrible, are simply just a different experience for you. Say you had a great career going, lots of money and stuff, and then you go to a new place and suddenly that isn't happening anymore, but you have different experiences. Then if you're just a soul having different experiences on earth, and this is just another stage where you grow and learn something, and then you go, and learn something else. So try to look at it in this way, that we only have one life, and if you have to move, hey, you already had two lives in a lifetime. Maybe your soul has just decided to reincarnate several times in one lifetime, in a way, learn a lot of things and learn more rapidly. So there are different ways of thinking about moving that take you away from that, oh my god, now I have to move, I'm a victim, to, oh my god, what a great possibility. So I just wanted to give you this. So thank you for coming. So I'll insert the video now, which may give you a little bit of a vision. of the future and enjoy.
To figure out where to go next. Well, let's put it this way. If you do this, you may figure out what to do to arrive at the life you always wanted. You may end up doing something for money that isn't a job, not even a career, but that is a mission. Something that drives you, keeps you up at night and gets you out of bed in the morning. And not out of fear, but out of excitement and a sense of purpose. Something that you have had a hard time putting down on the weekend because you want to learn and figure out more. If you don't do this, however, you may just end up with another job. Yet something else that steals your time during the week and causes you to wish your life away. Something you have to recover from on Friday night and dread to go back to on Monday morning. What am I talking about? Remember. Remember who you are. So the second R stands for remember. Now that's an anticlimax, you say. I already know who I am. This is my name. I live here. This is what I do for a living, or at least did until now. So what on earth do you mean with that? I mean, remember who you are at your core. Who have you always been? What have you always believed? And sometimes that is harder to figure out than you'd believe, because life just came at us. And a lot of people did what their parents wanted, what their mother expected from them, or their father expected from them, even if they weren't necessarily aware of it. Or maybe it was a grandfather, or maybe it was society. Maybe it was simply the pressures of life. You had to make money somehow, and then there was some job around, and people seemed nice, and you kind of got stuck in it. But what was it that really made your heart sing when you were a child? Remember that scene from The Lion King where Simba and Rafiki meet, and Rafiki shows Simba in the little puddle his own reflection, and then all of a sudden there's his father who says, "Remember who you are." It is quite like that. But it may also explain why you may not want to remember, because if you remember the story, Simba did go back and he became the king. He became the Lion King, and the story of life started again. But before he became the Lion King, he had to face his mother, and he had to face Scar, and he had to fight Scar. Maybe there's something that you are really meant to do. And maybe you know what it is, deep down inside your soul somewhere, but you know that it's going to be hard. Because anything worth doing is likely going to be hard. It's not going to be a walk in the park. You're going to have to work. You're going to have to stretch yourself to get there. But what is it? Do you have an idea? If you don't, there is a way to uncover it. And sometimes it takes several times. We do have a meditation that we do at the end. And what is really important for it is that you are in the right state of mind for it. So it must be somewhat positive state of mind, some state of expectance. Because research has shown that if you're in a bad state of mind, then you will also remember bad things. If you're in a good state of mind, you are more receptive to good things. Now, there are different ways of how you can put yourself into a good mood. You can do some exercise, or you can dance, or you can watch your favorite movie. You can watch a comedy. Just do something that makes you feel really good before you start doing this. Something that makes you feel really energized, really energetic. Do whatever it takes. And then you can do this exercise. You can do other exercises too. You can go on a walkabout. Some people go on a walkabout for years to find themselves and to find out who they are. But sometimes it's enough to do this meditation to just get an inkling, maybe, of which direction to go into. You may not immediately see where it is going to lead. It may just be a very fuzzy picture somewhere in the distance. And then you do this meditation again, maybe in a couple of months or so, and it's going to become a little bit clearer. And then you're going to see somebody maybe in a seminar, and all of a sudden it becomes clearer again, and then you see a possibility that you didn't see before. And again, a few months later, when you've taken some action, all of a sudden a door opens, something that you didn't think of before. And the more often you do this, the more often you meditate about it, the more often you do something to find out where you're supposed to go. something happens, something opens inside. And eventually you will see the picture. You may not know how to get there yet, but you will see where you're meant to go, and all of a sudden you're going to know. And you know when it sings inside you, when this energy opens, all of a sudden you will know this is the thing you're meant to do. This is the thing that would make everything so much better for you and for your loved ones. It is there somewhere. You just need to try and find it. So put yourself into a great state. Somehow, do this exercise, do dancing around, do eat your favorite food, whatever it is for you, but something that keeps you energetic. And then close your eyes. We'll wait for you until you're ready. Close your eyes and then continue the tape. Now remember to dream big and don't limit yourself. Just think of everything that you could think of that you wanted to be as a child. What excited you? What did you want to be? What were you when you were playing with the other kids? What kind of games were you playing? Which ones did you like? Why did you like them? Did you want to be an astronaut? Or a fireman or a sheriff? Or did you want to be a doctor? What did you want to be when you grew up? And why? What kind of feeling did you want to get out of it? How did you want to be looked at by other people? What did you want to contribute to the world? What feeling did you want to get out of it? Now maybe you didn't become this, but why was it? Didn't you have the skills maybe at the time? Maybe not the money? Or somebody told you to become something else? Do you have the skills now? Did you get them through another job? Do you have the money now maybe to go for it? Even if you don't, what kind of feeling did you want to get out of it? Could you get this feeling through something else? Say if you wanted to be an astronaut, why did you want to be an astronaut? Did you want to go somewhere where nobody had gone before? Did you want to have an adventure? Did you want to serve humanity? Could you now find something else to do that would give you exactly the same feeling? How many other things are there that you could do that would give you exactly the same feeling? It doesn't really matter what vehicle you use to get to that feeling. It just matters that you get there, that you get that sense of contribution, that sense that you fulfilled the purpose of your life. What is there that you could do to get that feeling? How would you feel if it actually came true? Now put yourself into a rocking chair at the end of your life, and you think back as an old woman or an old man, what happened in your life and what you became. Now remember this moment, and remember you had a chance to make a choice, to go for it or not. How would you feel if you knew you had a chance to go for it, to go for your dream, for that which you always wanted to do, and you didn't? What would you think about yourself? Would there be disappointment? Would there be regret? That you could have tried this, but you were too timid? What would you think of yourself? On the other hand, what would you think of yourself if you went for it? If you just did it? If you just made a decision to go for it and make it work somehow? And then you would. And you can see your life how initially you didn't really know how to make it work, but then you found a way, and then you found another step, and you found another step, and you went for it, and it worked. And you got there. And it was so exciting. And you stood there and you couldn't believe that you finally got where you always wanted to be. And how did it feel? How did you feel about yourself? How did other people feel about yourself? What did your family think of yourself? What did your friends think? Do you have new friends now? Who are you with? Where are you? How exciting! How exciting does it feel? Now, why wouldn't you go there? Maybe because people could laugh at you, but would you really care? Why would you care if you could get there, if people laugh at you for a second? What if you could get there? What if you could make it work? Just take it in. Just look around. Look at yourself in the mirror. And look at yourself, how proud you are of yourself. Now you don't know yet how to get there, but you know this is what you want to be. Now what could you contribute in this state to society? What have you contributed? Why was the world a better place? Because you have lived. What have you given to other people, to the environment, to animals, to anybody around you? What have you given that wouldn't have been there had you not lived? See it, take it in. Now slowly come back into this room. Feel your fingers and feel your toes and wiggle them a little bit. Start stretching and open your eyes.
I hope you enjoyed this and that you found a little bit of an idea of where you want to go next. If you want to move or if you want to stay wherever you are, a good vision is never a bad thing. So if you are interested in taking it a little bit further and get a little bit more help with moving or moving on to a different thing or moving on to a different job, again, this is the link. I just put it on the screen here. And thank you for coming. I hope that this course was an inspiration for you. It was just a short, quick course. If you have any questions about the comment or you want to share some experiences or would like to have questions answered, we do have a Facebook group at Nivelle-Getting Love. And you can share it, and we will probably have this course again at some point, and we will make it live. And then we can collate all your questions and notify you if you sign up for it, and if you are in the Facebook group. And we can notify that we have the course. In the meantime, you can socialize a little bit in the Facebook group, and we can make the course better, and we can adjust it to the kind of questions that you have. So I look forward to seeing you at some point, maybe at coaching, maybe in a live event again, maybe online or actually live. And I look forward to meeting you in person at some point. Don't forget, it's never too late.